Good morning. And welcome to the 33rd Assembly of the Southeast Michigan Synod. Remember, we canceled the 2020 Assembly in the depths of COVID. So although we've been together for 34 years, this is the 33rd Assembly. So don't worry about, where did I miss one? It's good to see so many of us gathered in person after what has seemed like a very long time. Good morning also to those voting members who are joining us on Zoom and to any guests who are viewing today's assembly on live stream or on YouTube. Now, dear friends, this is our first hybrid assembly. What that means is that we have voting members and guests here in the Assembly Hall, also known as the Sanctuary of Zion Lutheran Church in Ann Arbor. And we have voting members and guests attending today's meeting by Zoom. We have worked very hard to get the technology in place that will allow us to meet this way. And with all that we have learned during the last 2 years, we have also learned that sometimes there are still challenges when we do something for the first time. So thanks to members of Synod staff and to our friends here at Zion Ann Arbor for doing so much work ahead of time. And thank you all, you here in this room and you on Zoom, for your grace as we take this journey through today's assembly and figure out how do we do this. All right? So I've got some general announcements that I want to share with you. We're going to make announcements because how would we know it was church if we didn't have announcements? We will make announcements during the assembly as we need to. If you have an announcement that must be shared for the good of the whole group, please print it out legibly and hand it to one of our pages who are wearing orange name tags. And wave your hand if you're wearing an orange, they're over there on that wall. So you see them there. Okay, good. Now, as voting members, you have been elected by your congregation. You have been credentialed, and you should have received a confirmation email that contains your unique registration number, which along with your first and last name, as I said, and as Secretary Marquardt said, entered exactly as they are printed on your name tag. That allows you access to the voting platform, which is vPoll, okay? Now, if you're here in this room, that information is right there on your name tag, and you received it when you checked in at the Welcome Center. If you didn't check in yet, there'll be another opportunity to do so when registration reopens from 10 to 10:40, all right? So, but if you've got a lanyard around your neck, that means probably you checked in, okay? Now, if you're joining us by Zoom, you have received your credentials by email and you are considered checked in as you entered the Zoom meeting. We've set up the Zoom meeting for voting members, and then friends and guests can get onto live stream and the other access. So that's how we've tried to do this, all right? Now, if you're here at Zion, you can access the internet by looking up Synod Guest. And if it asks you for a password, there is no password, so just go ahead with that. I assume that you don't have to type in no password. I think it's just no password to go in. It'd be very, very confusing to type in no password. We're going to take an offering, another way that we know that we're gathered as church. We'll receive that during worship, which will happen at the end of this assembly. And we're going to support two important ministries of our synod. The first, campus ministries, which are taking place first at the Lord of Light congregation at the University of Michigan here in Ann Arbor. And then a new campus ministry, altogether campus ministry, which is going to be located on the Wayne State campus, the University of Michigan Dearborn, and Henry Ford College. We're going to hear more about those ministries today. We're also splitting that offering to support Samaritas refugee resettlement. Now, you remember that Samaritas used to be Lutheran Social Services Michigan. Now it's Samaritas. They're still the same people. And Samaritas assists all refugees, current and future, including Afghani and Ukrainian folks and others crossing our borders who are in need of assistance. Now, if you would choose to make a credit card donation, you can visit the homepage of our Synod website. That's www.semisynod.com, and under the online giving tab, make your donation payable to the Synod Assembly offering, and we'll make sure that it gets into the appropriate place. And we're going to, as I said, divide those the offering today between those two ministries, and we'll hear more about them in the course of this assembly. Okay, still with me? Okay, good. There are charging stations out in the Welcome Center if you realize that your phone or your device is running out of juice, okay? And just go there and as you need to, because we'll need those to vote. I also would ask that you would silence your cell phones. Even though we are going to use them to vote, I don't need to hear them ringing with whatever cute and charming or embarrassing ringtone that you have on your phone. I don't need to know some things about you, okay? So just go ahead and silence those now if you haven't already. In terms of the way we're going to do business, because this is a hybrid assembly and there are folks here and then folks on Zoom, we will not be calling for voice vote because we won't be able to hear our Zoom. So everything is going to be done on device, okay? So just know that that's what we're doing. And we're going to be using this, as I said, V-poll to vote. And I hope you were able to attend one of the practice sessions that we held earlier this week. If you were unable to attend, know that on-the-job training starts now, okay? So has everybody been able to get onto V-poll here in this room? Okay? If you're having trouble, raise a hand and one of the pages who are adept will help you, all right? Okay? So those on Zoom have received by email all the information you need to vote on to access V-poll. Once again, we encourage you, Zoomers, so not you in the room, because you can just look at me with your own eyes here. But if you're Zooming, if you can anyway manage it, you're gonna need to watch on one device and vote on the other, all right? It is possible to do that, Zoomers, with one, but you have to be really, really clever and really, really fast, okay? So better to watch on one device and vote with the other. Voting members participating through Zoom are going to be assisted by, you can use the chat feature to ask for help if you're on Zoom, and our Zoom hosts, licensed lay minister Dale Eckert and Pastor Jeff Oganowski will help you do that, all right? Now, if you're in the room, and I'm looking at you, you've also received all the information you need to get onto V-poll. You've got the name tag with the QR code and the cute dinosaur, and you've done that. And then use your camera to take a picture of that. And then you get the little, the little yellow box that pops up. We're all good? Okay. I'm so proud because we weren't sure, and yay, well done. So good. Okay. All right, and if at any point you get kicked off, again, one of our pages will help you. We've got in and working with Zion, we've got extra bandwidth to do all the things, so we should be okay. But if you get stuck, raise your hand and we're gonna get you sorted out, okay? There will be coffee breaks, yay, and there'll be refreshments provided by our Fed Up Ministries. If you've not had a chance to see Fed Up in action at your church or the program that you're sorting, this is your opportunity to experience our Synod's first food truck ministry. So yay, and know that they're all good things, and they're very, very good about making sure there are gluten-free and vegetarian and vegan options. So yay for Fed Up, and we've got those things that will let you know what's going on. I'm also so pleased to be here again at Zion Lutheran Church in Ann Arbor for this year's assembly. We are so grateful for the space and the hospitality offered to us. I have told Pastor Debner it feels like the circus has come into town. And so we just do that. And so before we get any further, I'd like to invite the senior pastor of Zion Lutheran Church, that's Pastor Jim Debner, to greet you and to give us a couple of details. And let's greet Pastor Debner and folks.
Well, goodness, welcome to Zion. We're glad you're here. It has been an honor and privilege to host this assembly. I serve alongside two wonderful pastors, Pastor Vicki Lovell and Pastor Anna Taylor McCants, and with the Fed Up Ministries. And they have worked extremely hard to help make this all possible. And I thank them for that. And for all the volunteers. You'll notice that there are volunteers here, and our volunteers have kind of this lime green t-shirt on. So if you need anything, find them and they can help you and assist you as best they can. Orders of business, there's just a couple things that we want to share with you. One is that there will be food provided by Fed Up right outside in our welcome area. but also downstairs in our lower level. You got to go all the way to B1. There is a B2 level, but go down to B1. You can reach that. There's and notice that maybe you came in these doors, but there also, if there was an emergency of some kind, there are other doors that you can exit. So there would be a great big door right behind you. There's lots of doors right behind you. There's also a door up here. And those would be ways that you could get out if you needed to. I think that's an important thing as well. Also, I want to say welcome to Washtenaw County and our new orange level. So unfortunately, this 2 days ago, masks became recommended by the CDC because of the high level of COVID. Also, I want to say that there is going to be food outside. And if you travel down our long hallway, and there are bathrooms in that hallway as well as downstairs, but outside will be lunch as well as downstairs. And so please make note of going to those different places for your food. If you're outside or want to take a walk during the lunch break, if you travel, we have a extensive backyard, and you'll go down past some gardens. There's also a labyrinth out there, and there's also a pathway that leads to what's called Eberwhite Woods. So maybe if you want to commune with nature a little bit, you can take a little bit of a walk into the woods as well. And I think those are the brief announcements I have.
Restrooms, Jim?
Restrooms, there's some outside, and you go down this hallway. There's some downstairs. There's some kind of on right underneath this narthex, back to old narthex, but there's also some down on B1, and that is all the way down on the first floor, and you can reach that by the Welcome Center. There's a stairway that goes down there, and then there's a stairway that goes around, and there's an elevator. So yeah, find a person in green and they'll help you find your way, I think is the best way to say that.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Pastor, and thanks everybody. When I pulled in this morning, there were young men waving flags. I felt very welcomed. It was nice. So, all right. So we are here. Please, dear ones, be mindful that this is an assembly hall for us today, but it is also a worship space. So, you know, be neat, okay? Don't spill your coffee if you can help, that sort of thing. And then as we leave, pick up, okay? Because on Sunday, this is back into a sanctuary, yeah? All right. So we're going to now get into business. The agenda and the guidelines for voting members and rules of procedure for the Synod Assembly, May 14, 2022, were posted on the Synod website. They were located under the required documents section under the events tab labeled 2022 Synod Assembly. I expect that you have read them and are reasonably familiar with how the activity of the assembly will be carried out. Let me remind you that in order to give ourselves, and we are the assembly, enough time to consider each question sufficiently, our rule is that a motion to close debate is not in order until, as necessary, or as if they are available, until 3 speakers on each side of the question have an opportunity to address the assembly. That would be folks speaking for and folks speaking against any sort of decision, yeah? Now, because we're doing this as in a hybrid way, we're going to do that, and then we'll allow, and the way we're going to do that just in terms of the mechanics, we'll take, if we have discussion, we'll invite 3 folks first in the room from either side. Then we're going to go to our Zoomers, okay? And we're going to allow our Zoom, the portion of the assembly, to also have 3 speakers on each side. That's the only way we could figure out how to keep everybody on an equal footing, yeah? And so once we have, if there are that many speakers, once we get through that many, then it will be appropriate to call the question, okay? You got me? Head nod? Yes, we understand. Okay, good. So we've also added language in our procedures to acknowledge those participating in Zoom. For example, those of you participating by Zoom will have voice in this meeting. During the debate, if you're on Zoom, you're going to please use the chat function to indicate whether you will speak in support of or opposition to a motion. One of our Zoom hosts will acknowledge you and then inform me. When it is your time to speak, unmute yourself State your name and congregation, and that's a rule that we follow here too. State your name and your congregation and continue with your remark. We will hear your voice in the assembly hall, although we'll not be able to see you. That's for Zoomers. We will be able to see you if you're in the room. Okay, got it? But if you're on Zoom, you will be a voice, but we won't put you on a big screen, okay? And to keep our meeting running smoothly and our tech team from having to switch back and forth, what we're going to do is we're going to take remarks first from here, and then we'll do that, and then we'll go to Zoom. We're not going to, just the technology about switching back and forth every other gets too complicated, okay? With me still? All right. If you are on Zoom, then please, because we're going to start with comment from the room, if you are on Zoom, please listen so that if somebody has already made your point, you wouldn't necessarily need to repeat it, okay? Now, I'm going to look for a motion to adopt the rules of procedure that were put forward by the Synod Council. Are you? Yes, question. Test out the microphone, will you, Pastor Folk?
Okay, are we on? Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, well done.
Before we go to the rules of procedure, I just have a question, or actually a concern that since we are being masked right now for the purposes of greater clarity, and we all want greater clarity and understanding, do we not? That those who are making a comment, they have the option of removing the mask while they're speaking because it can muffle, especially for people who might have an issue with hearing. So I'm wondering if that would be permissible, and people won't give the speaker the stink eye if they take off their mask. So
okay.
I mean, that's just my concern.
That's purely a room question. Thank you, Pastor Fogel. That's purely a room question. Is it assembly? Are you okay with a speaker choosing to lower a mask to speak at one of the microphones if necessary? Can you give me a thumbs up or is that okay? All right, we'll do that and trust that. Thank you, Pastor, for that point. So if you're going to come to a microphone and you were very distinct, but if that is muffly to people, we'll do that. Okay. All right. And practice here is that it's appropriate for a speaker here in the pulpit to be unmasked, which is why I'm unmasked. Okay. So just so you're not worried. So I'm looking for a motion then to adopt the rules of procedure. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there support? Okay. I'm now going to ask you to go onto your V-poll and get ready to vote. And while we're doing that, Zoomers, know that I'm going to just ask for those motions and support because it only needs a single person to make a motion and support. So Zoomers, you're not being shut out. It's just easier to do that way, okay? Okay, so everybody got the screen? It's asking you, as I'm looking at my phone, it says, are you in favor of the motion to adopt the rules and procedures? Are we all there? Okay, I'm going to invite you then to vote and to do so now, all right? That would simply be pressing a yes or a no, and then it'll give you the option to submit, yeah? So please take that vote now. All right, this is the maiden voyage of this technology. So. We celebrate with you, rejoice with me. For my vote which was lost has been found. All right, and okay, we did that and we have approved the rules of procedure. What? Oh, countdown, yes, okay. We're going to close this poll in, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That poll is closed. And this is the system we're working out here now. The answers are that to adopt rule of procedure, votes yes to adopt is 164, and votes no, we don't want those, are 0. So we're going to go with yay. Well done. You are so tech savvy, you all. I'm very, very proud. All right. Then the agenda is brought to you by Synod Council to approve or oppose. It was also included in all of the pre-assembly information online that was provided to you. Are there any motions to make additions or changes to the agenda? I'm going to look here. If you need an addition or change to the agenda, I invite you here in the room to go to a microphone. I'm also vamping just a little bit to see if anybody on Zoom wants to make a change to the agenda. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Nope, we are good. We're working on our signal up there. Good. Green means we're going ahead. So that's in case when you see me looking up there, I'm trying to figure out where we're going, but we're good. So we're not going to change the agenda. Now I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as was provided. Is there a motion? Is there support? Okay. I'm going to ask you now to look at your device and make provision to vote now in favor of the agenda. Will you please make that vote now? Ms. McCants. Okay, we're going to close that in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Poll is closed, and we look with eager anticipation as Mr. Watson comes forward. Thank you. To adopt the agenda, the vote yes is 161. All right, and no is again 0. Well done. Okay, so we have an agenda and we have rules of procedure. Good work so far. All right. I now want to make some introductions to you, to those who are assisting in today's meeting. Applause is welcome, but wait till I get through all of the names. So just so that no one feels particularly special if they get a burst of applause. So members of Synod Council Executive Committee who are here and in front of you on this dais include Mr. Paul Archer out of Hope Dearborn, who's Vice President of the Synod, Ms. Sonia Marquardt, who you met earlier out of All Saints Heartland. She serves as Secretary of the Synod. Mr. Daryl Hurley is our Synod Treasurer, and he is unable to be with us today. He is attending his daughter's graduation from the University of Pennsylvania. She's graduating with an MSW. She's very proud. He will be represented by members of the Finance Committee of the Synod Council, and also by Ms. Valinda Vincent, who some of you may remember as our former treasurer. Pastor Alex Stewart, who is now rostered in Northwest Lower Michigan Synod, joins us today as our parliamentarian. Mr. George Watson, who you've seen running votes back and forth, is the chair of the Elections Committee. Pastor Sarah Freudenberg is chair of the Resolutions Committee, and Ms. Joellen Bernardin represents the Nominations Committee. I'm going to identify and thank other folks who have provided support and leadership to the Synod, newcomers to the Synod, and we'll make note of roster changes during the report of the bishop later in this meeting. Now, will you please applaud those folks who are serving us today? Well done, well done. I also want to identify 2 of our guest presenters, but I haven't seen, yes, I have. It's the mask thing, Dr. Cumming. Dr. Ryan Cummings, who is the Education Director for ELCA World Hunger, and he is a member of Zion Lutheran Church in Chelsea, who is here in the room with us to provide both the ELCA Churchwide report and then later a presentation that grows out of his work with ELCA World Hunger. That presentation is More Than Food, Our Work Together Through ELCA World Hunger. So welcome, Ryan. It's good to have you here. Yay. And then bringing us greetings via technology will be Pastor Sherston Sullivan, who is our representative to the ELCA's Churchwide Council. Pastor Sullivan is rostered in Northwest Lower Michigan, and so she's at their Synod Assembly, but she has sent us a video greeting, and so we'll do that later on. I mentioned also, and point them out to you again, pages, the folks that are wearing the very attractive orange name badges earlier. They're here to assist us with the things that you need, such as using V-poll or handing out material. Our pages are seminarian interns and are currently serving in congregations in our synod. And so wave your hand as I call out your name so everyone can be clear who you are. So Vicar Charlie Martin, who's at St. John in Capac. There's Charlie right there. Yay. Vicar Janice Locke, who's at St. John in Dundee. Yay, Janice, yay. Vicar Carm Yarrow, who's at Iroquois Avenue Christ in Detroit. Yay, Carm. Vicar Amy Cooley-Higgs. Did I see? There she is in the back. Yay, who's at Antioch and Farmington Hills. And Vicar Dylan Payette, who's at Lutheran Church of the Master in Troy and Micah 6. So yeah. Yay. Thank you all for your help and for your good nature as we do this. All right. I also want to introduce to you the following folks who have worked tirelessly to prepare for this year's event. There are some of them out in the common area, some of them up in the technical booth in various spaces. So I'm not going to ask them to stand, but I will call their names. And some of them are known to you, but it's Ms. Beth Fisher, who is out of Synod staff. Ms. Robin McCants, also on Synod staff. Wave your hand, Robin. Yay, there she is. Ms. Elaine Pearson, who's at St. John and Farmington Hills. She's up and back. Pastor Jeff Oganowski, St. Philip Trenton, who's also up and back, I think. Jeff, are you there? Yes, I see a very little tiny hand there. Ms. Lisa Jeffries, who's director of our youth ministry here at Synod. She's in back, waving. Licensed lay minister Dale Eckhart, who is a member of Zion Ann Arbor, but serving at Chelsea, at Zion Chelsea, and so he's helping. And then you already met Pastor Jim Debner and Pastor Vicki Lovell and the media tech team of Zion Church. That's Mr. Eddie Van Riper and Mr. Thomas Murphy. I don't know if you're in the room, but thanks for your there. They're back in the back. And then Mr. Scott Casey, who is our V-poll representative, and he's floating around on Zoom. Okay, so he's in that other world there. And finally, our worship committee, as we put things together, Pastor Jen Kiefer out of St. John Dundee, Pastor Lindsay Anderson out of Love Rising in Detroit, Ms. Nicole McCarthy, who's out of Living Water Ministries, and me, Bishop of the Semi-Synod. So yay, we can clap. That would be good. Yay. I want you to know, and I know that you know this, but I say it out loud, that trying to put together a new event in this sort of hybrid fashion has been really sort of a pretty steep hill to climb. So grateful for the enormous amounts of help and the talent that have put that all together. So yay. At this time, I'm going to invite Ms. Beth Fisher forward to provide us with a credentials report. Yay, Beth.
Good morning. It's good to see everybody in person and on Zoom. I know I'm supposed to have a joke, but I don't, so we'll just get right to it. We have total registration of 226, of which 205 are voting members, 80 are clergy, 39%, and 125 lay voting for 61%. And that concludes our credentials report.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Woo, yes. Pastor Paul Walters, who does the jokes, is actually at his kid's graduation today too. So I invite you to rummage in your mind through a terrible joke and then tell it to yourself, and then we'll move on. I'm not going to invite, I hope Paul is listening to that. I'm now going to invite Ms. Joellen Bernardin from Synod Council to present the slate of nominees on behalf of the Nominations Committee. The Nominations Committee included Ms. Beth Paulo, who serves on Synod Council, and had assistance from Pastor Jack Eggleston. Now, as Joellen comes forward, we need to honor those present. We've got this hybrid thing going on, so be aware. I'm going to ask After each category is presented, if there are additional nominations. If you have an additional nomination, if you're in the room, raise your physical hand and let me know. If you're Zooming, raise your little, your little reaction hand and let me know, okay? If you have a nomination here, let us know, and then you're gonna go out. If you're in the room, you're gonna go out and get a nomination form from the Welcome Center and go ahead and fill that out. As Secretary Marquardt said, it's not fair to nominate someone who doesn't know that they're being nominated. Okay, so you have to let someone know, or someone has said, I would be willing to serve and do that, okay? No surprise nominations. If you're doing this on Zoom, you have to do that online, of course, and then you're going to have to let the chat managers know I'm making a nomination. Then go find that online at the Synod website and do that. You can fill out the nomination form they were emailed to you, or you can go to the Synod website. That's www.semisynod.com. And once the form is filled out, if you're on Zoom, you email it to Beth Fisher, that's b.fisher@semisynod.com, and then inform your Zoom host that you've done that. So, okay, it's a little cumbersome, but it's the best we could do. All right. Everybody clear about that here in the room? We've got this two-part process going on, okay? All right. Now, the nominations that we have received are going to be projected on the screen, which is behind me. And I'm going to invite Ms. Bernardin to read the list of nominees. Please.
I did have a joke, but Bishop said, read every word and don't stray. So for election to the Synod Council, Conference 1, Elect 1, 3-year term. Joellen Bernardin, All Saints, Heartland, lay female. Diane Grable, St. John's, Fowlerville, clergy, female.
Okay, thank you. Now, are there nominations for that slot that would be Conference 1? Are there nominations from the floor? Seeing none, I ask in our Zoom room, are there nominations in the Zoom room? And I see none. We're going to keep going forward. Thank you. That system is working. Okay. Seeing none, I declare nominations for Conference 1 closed. Okay.
Conference 4, Elect 1, 3-year term. Beth Paulo, King of Kings, Shelby Township, lay female.
Okay. Are there nominations from the room? Are there any nominations from Zoom? Seeing none, I declare nominations for Conference 4 closed.
Conference 5, Elect 1, 3-year term. Geraldine Udell, First English, Grosse Pointe Farms, lay female.
Are there nominations, other nominations from the room? Are there any nominations from Zoom? Seeing none, I declare nominations for Conference 5 closed.
Conference 10, Elect 1, 3-year term. Elizabeth Friedman, Lord of Light, Ann Arbor, clergy, female.
Are there other nominations from the room? Are there any nominations from Zoom? Seeing none, I declare nominations for Conference 10 closed.
Young adult, ages 18 to 30 years, elect 1 2-year term. Willie Caldwell, Jr., Love Rising, Detroit, lay male. Kristen McCarthy, Prince of Glory, Madison Heights, Good Shepherd, Royal Oak, Trinity Clausen, clergy, female.
Are there nominations from the room? Are there any other nominations from Zoom? Seeing none, I declare nominations for the young adult category closed. Nominations are now complete for Synod Council. I therefore ask for a motion from the Assembly to close nominations for Synod Council. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there support? Support. All right. We're going to vote now to close nominations to Synod Council. I invite you to turn to your device and please vote now. I'm going to close this vote in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That poll is closed. I'm going to invite Mr. Watson forward. We should have gotten you track shoes, George. Go. Vote to close nomination, yes, 161, no, 0. Nominations are closed. Well done. Can I just ask, are we clear that our folks on Zoom, that their votes are, we're good? Okay, good. Just one of those things. Wonderful. All right, so nominations are closed. All that's going well. The voting seems to be working. Y'all feel good about that? And on Zoom, I got a question. I've got a hand back there. Need help? Sending you there. Okay. All right. Zoom, if you're struggling, you can do the chat feature and somebody will help sort that out. Pastor Offerman? Okay. I'll be a little slower. Thank you, Mr. Offerman. Pastor Offerman. Yes. Okay. All right. Okay. We're going to figure that out. All right. Okay. I'm now going to look for, I'm now going to ask for a motion to declare elected the persons that were nominated to positions where there was only one name in the category. All right. I would like a motion to declare those persons elected if there weren't 2 or more names in the thing. May I have that motion? Is there support? Support. All right. Now we're going to do that, and I'm going to be a little bit more deliberate. So I invite you then to go on and to vote in favor of, get your device, the motion to declare elected to Synod Council all those running unopposed. All right. I'm going to give you a moment to get that back up. Vote and then submit. All right. And I'm just going to take a little bit of time to make sure that we get everybody back in, okay? Has everybody in the room had a chance to access that ballot? Yes. No, not yet. We're working on it. Okay. We'll be patient. We good to go? Votes are still coming in. All right. This is the joy and wonder of technology. Okay. I'm going to declare this ballot closed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This ballot is closed. And the result is, thank you, Mr. Watson, 168 yes to declare those elected. There is 1 no vote. So I declare Beth Paulo, Geraldine Udell, and Elizabeth Friedman out of conferences 4, 5, and 10, respectively, elected. Thank you and congratulations. I'm now going to invite, well, as I mentioned earlier, our Synod Treasurer, Mr. Darrell Hurley, is out of town attending his daughter's graduation. That's a very important thing. We're very proud of him and very proud of his daughter, so all that's good. And I'm very grateful to Ms. Valinda Vincent, our former treasurer and current member of the Synod Finance Committee, who has agreed to stand in for Mr. Hurley. Please welcome with your applause Ms. Vincent as she comes forward to share a letter from our auditor, Schreiber Advisors PC, regarding the audit for year ending, for last year, the year ending January 31, 2022. All right, so Valinda, please come.
Thank you, Bishop, and good morning.
Good morning.
I will now read a letter from Schreiber Certified Public Accountants. To the Board of Directors, Southeast Michigan Synod, ELCA, that is you. We have been engaged by Darrell Hurley on behalf of Southeast Michigan Synod, ELCA, the organization, to perform the audit for the fiscal year ended January 31st, 2022. As in years past, we plan on beginning field work around the week of June 28th and anticipate completing the audit around the week of August 15th. These dates are based on the continued cooperation of both you and your staff. If you have any further questions or comments, please do not hesitate to contact the auditor, Frank Reinstein, at schreiber.cpa. We look forward to another successful year. Signed, Frank Reinstein, CPA, audit partner of Schreiber Advisors PC.
All right, thank you, Ms. Valinda, Ms. Vincent. What that means, dear ones, is that we have, as we always do, engaged professional auditors to do the work of auditing of books to make sure that we can report that. And so that's, and they won't get that completed until June, right?
It'll be completed August 15th.
August. So know that we're in the process of doing that, but want you to know that we're doing all of our due diligence, okay? So that's what that letter means. I'm going to ask now for a motion to receive that letter from the auditor. So moved? Is there support? Support, all right. Will you look to your device then, and we're going to vote then on receiving the letter from the auditor, all right? I'm going to give you a moment to get that back up. And then we're going to vote. Okay. We doing okay here in the room? Are you able to get into this vote, this ballot? Okay. All right. Okay. Our friends on Zoom, it's just a little longer to get this set up, so we're just going to be very patient and let them get into the ballot as well. We think we're good? All right. I'm going to close this ballot in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ballot is closed. Mr. Watson. Thank you. Yes, to receive the letter from the auditor is 172. No is 0. So we have voted to receive that letter. Wonderful. Now, I look for a motion from you to authorize Synod Council to review and to accept the report of the auditor in August when it comes to us. All right? So moved? Is there support? Okay. We're going to do that again. All those in favor of approving to allow the Synod Council to review and accept the report of the auditor, please vote now. All right? Again, we're going to wait just a little bit for our Zoom folks to do that. Yes. Yes. All right, we're doing okay. No, okay, it's not up yet, so we're just waiting. It's the little ballot has to go through the magic wires, and the little elves that are running it are tired. They're very tired, and so they're going to get there, but it just takes a moment. While we're waiting here, I was reminded by Vice President Archer that I should be asking for discussion, and I will, I promise, as we get to more complicated ballots. So I didn't see anyone storming the microphone and say, wait, what does yes really mean? We doing okay down there, getting that into our Zoom folks' hands? Any sense of that? Okay, we're checking and finding out what there seems to be a little glitch here now. We're gonna get at this. So just, be comfortable. Was there a breakthrough? It's on the phones for the Zoomers? Okay, the Zoomers now have the ballot, so we're making good progress. Sorry, George. Okay, and did you all get that ballot? Okay, yeah. Okay, we're just waiting for results now, but the ballot got out, so yay. We're looking close, George? Okay, I'm going to announce that this ballot is closed in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Seminarian Locke, thank you so much. All right, thank you for your patience. The yeses to, sorry, I've lost what we were voting on. Yeah, okay, that, yes. I have a good memory, but it's short. Yeses, 174, noes, 0. That motion is carried. Thank you. All right, so that's all good work, and I'm proud of you. We're getting through this. It's good. Okay, we're now going to move to the next agenda items. That's the Treasurer's Report and the presentation of the 2024 budget. That's next year's budget. Are we clear? We name the budget year for the year in which it ends, and since our fiscal years goes through January 31st of the next year, starting on February 1, we're actually right now in budget year 2023. Okay? So when we look at 2024, it just means next year's budget. Okay? Okay, Treasurer Hurley, these documents and all those documents were located in the reports of the officers and the required documents on the Synod website. You could have found those there. Treasurer Darrell Hurley has provided us with a video presentation of the 2024 budgets. Following his presentation, we're going to see a video presentation by Pastor Nick Shellac, a member of the Synod Council and a member of the Council's Compensation Task Force. After those video presentations, we're going to have time for Q&A with Ms. Belinda Vincent and Pastor Shellac on behalf of the Synod's Finance Committee. I'm going to now ask for the videos to roll and direct your attention to the screen behind me.
Good afternoon. My name is Darrell Hurley, and I'm your Southeast Michigan Senate Treasurer, here to present the 2024 financial report and budget. So the revenue for 2024 is broken up into three categories: benevolence giving of $1,100,000, ELCA support of $10,000, which helps support Pastor Eubank's salary, and miscellaneous giving of $36,900 for a total annual revenue of $1,146,000. So we move into the expenses, starting with our largest expense, which is the churchwide benevolence expense, which is 40% of income at $440,000, or 40%. The next category of expenses are the special ministry donations, and they're broken up into the following categories. Campus ministry, $40,000. We have Living Water Ministries at $32,000. We have Region 6 ELCA expense of $6,000. We have Trinity Seminary for $25,000. We have Samaritas at $6,000 and Action Common for $17,000. We have some additional small expenses, special offerings, community organizations at $1,000 and $2,400 respectively. So the total special ministry donations are $135,700. Okay, so now we'll discuss the Senate staff expenses. This section will also be followed up with a presentation from Nick Shellac, who is also a part of the Finance Committee, who will discuss in detail the staff changes from 2023 to 2024. So the total bishop salary and benefits is $125,406. We have an assistant to the bishop for $100,000. We have Pastor Eubanks. The only portion of his salary that comes from the ELCA budget is $25,203. And we have assistant to the bishop, Robin McCann's salary at $82,754. We have youth ministry directors at $3,600. We have bishop expense at $10,000. We have assistant to the bishop expenses $10,000 and $3,000 respectively. We have continuing education in the budget for $1,500. We have the assistant to the bishop at $59,398, and the final assistant to the bishop admin and support benefits of $24,333. We have a dean expense of $22,000 and staff travel at $10,000 for a total category of Senate staff expenses of $501,276,000. Okay, so the last category is the Senate office expenses. We have auditor's expense of $10,000. We have bishop discretionary fund at $2,000. We have office equipment expenses, of $4,000. We have insurance at $14,500. We have miscellaneous admin expenses of $2,000, and a few other miscellaneous expenses, computer expense, office expense for supplies, postage and mailing expense at $5,000, $2,500, and $2,000 respectively. We have the rent at $10,440. We have building maintenance at $1,000 and printing expense at $1,000 as well, for total Senate office expense of $67,740. So the total expense for ELCA, Southeast Michigan Senate, is $1,176,266. Good afternoon. I am now presenting the Fund for Mission proposed budget for 2024. The annual revenue is $170,376. Total expenses for Fund for Mission are exactly the same, $170,376. The only change from the 2023 and 2024 budget are a variance of $22,000, and that's to grants to new and renewing congregations. It was increased from $38,000 to $60,000, creating a $22,000 variance. This also is a balanced budget as well.
Hello, I'm Pastor Nick Shellac with Beautiful Savior Lutheran Church in Bloomfield Hills. Today, I'm sharing information with you in my role as a member of Synod Council, the Synod Compensation Guidelines Task Force, and a member of a special Synod Council task force that's been charged with analyzing the compensation and benefits of our bishop and Synod staff. Specifically, our task force reviewed the current compensation and benefit levels of the Synod team to determine if they're in an appropriate range when compared with our other ELCA synods. We took into account vocational experience, advanced educational degrees, the history of their compensation, and other factors. And our analysis showed that we've fallen short as a synod in offering just and equitable compensation for those who lead our Synod team, beginning with Bishop Chris. We currently compensate our bishop about $6,000 under minimum Synod guidelines. Please allow me to say that again. We are paying our bishop about $6,000 under guidelines. We rely on our bishop to make sure that rostered leaders, as well as licensed lay ministers serving in pastoral roles, are paid at or above the Synod minimum guidelines. And yet as he goes out, as does the whole Synod's team goes out to watch out for us, we are not compensating our bishop in the same way. That being said, our task force knew that bringing Bishop Chris to the bare minimum guideline for a person of his longevity of service was without question. Furthermore, it's standard for bishops in the ELCA to be paid at least 10% above the minimum guideline for that synod. We also considered that our bishop has 2 master's degrees and a doctoral degree. This disparity in compensation resulted from our bishop, as far as records can tell, never receiving a pay increase during the entire decade he's served us as bishop. With all that in mind, our task force recommended and our Synod Council agreed that we should give him an increase of 15%. After a decade of no increase, this seems more like a step in the right direction even than a destination. Another disparity we discovered centers on healthcare insurance coverage. Gratefully, Bishop Chris is on his spouse's healthcare plan. With his current compensation, age, and family structure, the Synod's investment in his family's healthcare coverage would be $44,280. Instead, we're giving him $20,353 as a healthcare coverage offset. Our Synod guidelines, though, recommend an offset of 50% or more, so he's actually under those that part of the guidelines too, which is why we're recommending an increase of $1,787 to reach that 50% threshold. When we looked at other Synod staff members, many of them have received little or no increase during their tenures. We took the 15% recommended increase for our bishop, and with some rounded numbers, ran this number down the line for all but one of the other employees, and I'll explain that part at the end. The 15% increase applied to the amount our Synod covers for Pastor Sean Eubank, who is mostly compensated by ELCA Churchwide. The 15% also applied to the compensation for Ms. Robin McCants, Ms. Beth Fisher as well. We should note that in Beth's case, she's splitting her healthcare investment cost with Pastor Fisher, who's serving St. John Lutheran in Farmington Hills. So for that reason, we compensate Beth with an additional $5,000 as a healthcare coverage offset. The final person is Tracy Johnson. She's our skilled bookkeeper, and we're currently paying her $15 per hour. For her skills, this is wildly under the mark. So we're recommending an increase to $23 per hour. At an average of 5 hours per week, this has a minimal budgetary impact. But in terms of how we value people for their skills and expertise, it speaks volumes. When we review all of these recommended changes, we cannot overstate the importance of periodically looking at the compensation of people and assuring that they are justly and equitably compensated for the important work they do on behalf of Jesus's church. The longer we go without reasonably increasing compensation, the greater the shock can be for a budget. But more importantly, the longer we go without reasonably increasing compensation, the greater the personal toll there is for that part of Jesus's church that matters the most. And that part that matters the most, of course, is the people. We value our Synod staff team, and we don't want them to go any longer without just and equitable compensation for what they do. Thank you for this time, for sharing it with me, and I hope this information clarifies the current situation as well as our recommendations.
All right. I'm now going to have time to do a question and answer with Ms. Valinda Vincent and Pastor Nick Shellac. I'm going to invite you to come forward to that lectern and invite conversation and questions around any part of the budget or the presentation that you saw Pastor Shellac provide through video. We did it that way, dear friends, just so that folks on Zoom could get that also directly. It's a little weird to have Nick here and then watching him on the screen, but that was all good, but just so that Zoomers got all of it together, okay? So I invite now questions from the assembly here or from our voting members who are with us on Zoom. Any questions that we should take care of now that we can ask with folks that are prepared to do that? I would ask that you would come to a microphone if you do have a question here. I think that's licensed minister Dave Corliss, but I invite you to introduce yourself. Yes.
Hi, I'm licensed lay minister David Corliss. Thank you for recognizing me with the mask. A quick comment, not well, definitely speaking in favor of what we've just heard. One piece of additional information. We've heard of the situation, the very fine presentation from Pastor Shellac. They're recommending a 15% increase. If we look at inflation over the same period, the actual inflation rate is 25.6%. And so while this is certainly very important, this 15% increase is very much needed. It's a step in the right direction. It can't be our last step. We still have more work to do in this direction. I would express a concern at affirming at this point the bishop's salary at what is in real dollars 10% less than when he started. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corliss, Dr. Corliss, I should say.
I'm Michael Cruz from Zion Lutheran Church in Ferndale. I have two questions. What is the recommendation from the Senate to have a regular audit so that our congregations can be notified of these increases so that we can substantiate those both within our own congregations? Because it sounds to me like the discussion was not just from that presentation about your compensation and the board for the Senate's compensation, but that we probably should have some practice to review that. So when is that being done? And number two, what is the cost increase? Someone said we were $6,000 off, was a number I heard, but what does $6,000 actually mean? And then lastly, is there not a plan in place once we move this motion, approve or deny it, to then institute it and make it happen? Lastly, the fourth question would be, why? Which one of you made the decision to no longer take the payment or to suspend the increase in payment? Because if there's not a practice in place to regularly review it, we will undoubtedly do it again.
All right, thank you. Now, I may need you to stay nearby because you gave me 4 questions, and we're gonna need to make sure that we answer them appropriately. The first question was?
The first question is, well, I can repeat them and probably not in the same order, but the first question is, how did we get so far off base? That's the last one I can, like the last question I asked was, how did we get so far off base?
Okay.
Did you reasonably and honorably stand up and say, you're not going to take an increase in payment because that was during the Great Recession? Did the staff all agree? How did that practice begin?
That practice, and I'm going to only speak for myself, that practice resulted from, and here's a teaching moment for all of you that are here. In the last parish I served, I had advocates on my congregation council who were very clear that part of their role was to make sure that my compensation moved annually. Because of that, I did not develop the muscles that were necessary to sort of keep an eye on that myself. So when I accepted the call to serve as bishop, I simply hadn't developed that practice or habit. And so it was my lack of sort of watching, and then council sort of went with me. I mean, nobody was asking the question. And so it wasn't, it wasn't an active, it was simply
Okay, so
yeah.
that's the first question I asked
Yeah.
then. Is there a practice, a policy, a procedure, or a guideline to infer this into the future to make sure that it doesn't happen? The second question would be, does it need to be audited regularly for review? Because I believe that was part of what was discussed.
Sure.
But are
Then,
we voting on that as part of our package today?
And not as part of the package, but I'm going to let somebody over there speak to practices going forward.
Thank you for those wonderful questions. I really appreciate them. So the Synod's Executive Council, made up of some of the people up here, they serve in a mutual ministry role. And after this has come to light, they plan to meet they will be meeting to discuss a periodic review of compensation, where the benefits are, but this is now going to the front burner. And so I believe it's in January that the conversations will be an active part of those meetings. So that hopefully, I mean, the plan is we will not be shocked again.
Okay, and then the third question was in there was, how does the Synod plan on relegating that information back into the congregations? And is there a plan then also to do a congregational study? Because undoubtedly, if the bishop's underpaid and the staff or the Synod are underpaid, we have congregations that are, although congregations are independent and they have their own right to pay as they wish, is there not also an understanding that we could be suffering inside individual congregations for disparagement in payment? These are big questions, and I'm young. I'm probably the youngest person in the room, and I apologize for that, but the reason why I'm asking is I'm the future of the church. And if you guys want me to lead, then you need to inform what my decisions need to become and not these reactionary discussions. Because for the past 3 years, all we've done is react to things that isn't planned for our promise or our future. And so respectfully, I'm asking the leadership of the church to inform us what we need to do better so we can continue to be leaders in the future. That's all.
Sure. I'm sharing this as my own experience as a teaching moment to this assembly, and we'll be putting that out because as you observed, what we can do is set guidelines, but every pastoral leader is compensated in his or their congregation separately. We can set examples and we can offer guidelines, but the way we have built the church is that those conversations should be handled, and we hope are handled, at the level of individual congregations on an annual basis. Okay,
No other questions for me. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Pastor Anderson.
All right. Lindsay Anderson, pastor, co-pastor at Love Rising Lutheran Church in Detroit. First, I want to thank Pastor Shellac and the committee and the Synod Council for their work to move us towards a more just pay for our Synod staff. I was also wondering if you could speak to, in terms of the compensation for assistants to the bishop, if you could speak to the disparity between the different compensations for our assistants to the bishop when they all work full-time and all work at the same level of employment. Thank you.
Thanks, Pastor Anderson. I'm going to turn to one of you.
Pastor Anderson, in terms of disparities, just for clarity, I didn't mean to rhyme, sorry. Are we talking about the difference between those who are ordained and or on rostered leadership or those who are not?
I'm asking, if that is the reason, then that's what I'm asking.
No, I'm just
for.
trying to understand. Yeah, and to be fair, I'm new to seeing this now as a newer member of Synod Council, but in terms of, could you speak just to, I want to understand the disparity aspect so that I can answer accurately.
So the total, the bottom line of compensation for each of the assistants to the bishop seems widely varied.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what the reasoning is for that difference in their pay.
My understanding is that some of it would be experience related based on how many years they've served in a rostered role. I think about somebody like Ms. McCants, though, who is highly experienced and I believe our longest serving member of our Synod team. And so we definitely saw that disparity that, we definitely saw that disparity. However, we recognize too that people who are serving, say, as a licensed lay minister in a congregation who, technically are not rostered and yet are licensed, we try to have them compensated as if they are in a pastoral role. And so we kept that in mind because Ms. McCants, for example, is, serving in a role that she is uniquely qualified for with all of her experience and understanding. But yeah, we want to make sure that people get to where they need to be. So in terms of why are they different, I think part of that has become, I think that's a 10-year, 15-year, a long-term thing that is built and built and built. We even recognize that doing 15% bumps for people, a 15% bump for somebody who's compensated more is going to be a higher bump than for somebody who's not. Again, I want to make sure I'm answering your question though.
Yeah. Thank you for clarity.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is that we have inherited or let continue over the last 10 or 15 years, a system in which we compensate more for rostered leaders than for lay leaders.
Significantly more.
Okay.
And there's, yes. And so that is part of the reason I believe maybe David Corliss mentioned this as well. I think he was the one. We mentioned this is a step and not a destination. We have a lot of work to do in this area. And I know we even have a lot of work to do within our own congregations in this area as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other questions in the room? No, I've got a question from someone on Zoom. So we're going to see how this works. Everyone pay attention.
Said that it was okay if we asked the question on their behalf from Klaus Dahl and Bethel Lutheran Church. His question was, where are the Synod staff medical insurance expenses listed in the budget? But we have some more coming in too.
Okay.
I can answer that.
All right. Did you all hear the question from Dale up there? Where in the budget do you see what medical costs, the cost of healthcare insurance is in the budget? Ms. Vincent.
Okay. The medical and health expenses are located underneath the line benefits. where it says salary plus benefits, so it's a total package. One would be 7100 for the bishop, is an example. So it says bishop's salary plus benefits. Do you agree with that?
Is the question for them to be broken apart?
I'll pass that on to Klaus and see if that answers his question. The second question comes from Sarita Scott. Does the Synod share salary data widely? It would be good to know what are standards based on cost of living.
Let me answer that quickly. There are, every year we review and provide Synod guidelines for compensation, and those are posted in the Synod website every year. And so you can access them at semisynod.com. And we do that work gets done every year. Anything else, Dale?
I think that's it for right now for the questions in the Zoom. I'll keep track.
Okay. These are important questions, and I thank you for your diligence and thoughtfulness. I want also to keep us moving in terms of agenda because we've sort of expanded this time, all right? So this was good work. We will ponder this. We're going to actually vote on these budgets in another session, all right? But we wanted to present them now and give you a chance to ask the questions that you've asked so that you can do so so that when we come to adopting, or we can do so in an informed manner, yeah? Okay. We have now hit the, so thank you very much for that thoughtfulness, and thank you very much for your help and support. So there, yeah. Okay, we've now, before we move to the next item in the agenda, is everyone here in this room registered? Did everybody have a chance to check in at the Welcome Center? Everybody's got that, so we don't have to worry about that. Good. If you have any late resolutions, they need to be in now. Do so if you're in here in this room, or let us know. And then I'm going to invite Dr. Ryan Cummings to come forward and to present the ELCA report. As Ryan comes forward, remember that we are, as the ELCA, we have one churchwide organization headquartered in Chicago, 65 synods, of which we are one, and more than 9,000 local congregations. Together we make the church, and we are and remain deeply connected to each other through ministry, worship, and service. Now we've set aside this time to hear the annual report from our churchwide organization. I welcome Dr. Ryan Cummings as he comes forward with a report that will conclude with a video message from our presiding bishop, Bishop Eaton. Ryan, welcome.
Thank you very much, Bishop Chris, and thank you for inviting me to be part of your Synod Assembly. It's been a minute, as the kids say, since I've been at one of these, and same for you. I'm deeply honored to be back, although back is a bit relative considering I live 15 minutes away from here. So it's a really nice, easy trip. I am the program director of hunger education for ELC World Hunger. So part of my role is to develop our resources and communications to help share about hunger and poverty throughout our church and how our faith calls us to respond. I came to this work, just a bit about me, I came to this work as a religion student at Capital University before running off and spending time with the Jesuits at Loyola in Chicago, who helped me learn just how Lutheran I am. But happy with where I've landed so far. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. One of the great blessings of my current job is to be able to share the stories that are made possible by our gifts, the stories that are made possible by the ways that God blesses every one of our communities with different assets they can bring to making a difference in the world. And to share about the ways that even now God is still at work reconciling and renewing our relationships with each other. On behalf of all those who've been impacted by the work supported by the mission support, which is stewarded by the churchwide organization through your synod, thank you. Together, your congregations made it possible for this synod to share $396,171 last year to support ministry together, ministry that is rooted in our deep faith and strong relationships across the ELCA that provide the foundation for mission support sharing each year. This mission support comes back to your synod in several ways, including to support the work of God through new mission starts and the exploration of new ministries in Southeast Michigan, including exploring the planting and growth in the last 2 years of ministries that we've heard mentioned already today, Fed Up, the food truck ministry that we'll enjoy later today, and All Together, a Lutheran Episcopal ministry presence at Wayne State University, Henry Ford College, and the University of Michigan Dearborn. Your generous giving, prayers, and support in kind have helped these new ministries to come to fruition, and they join new starts that have been both planted and explored in 2019 and before, as well as strategic ministries, which are doing creative work with diverse leaders, including ministry among traditionally marginalized communities. In addition to this, your synod is helping to prepare new leaders for creative ministry through the Fund for Leaders Scholarship Program, which provides tuition support for full-time seminary students. Your synod has 4 new Fund for Leaders Scholarship recipients, in 2021, whose names we've also heard mentioned today: Janice Locke at United Lutheran Seminary, Dylan Payette and Charlie Martin at Pacific Lutheran, and Amy Cooley Higgs at Luther. Key to who we are as church for the sake of our world are our relationships with other Lutheran churches around the globe, including our international companion churches. Our synod has 2 companion churches, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Jordan, the Holy Land, and the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania. Through your mission support, Southeast Michigan sponsors missionaries in both regions. In Jerusalem, our missionaries are Carrie Bellinger, Gabby Alabuni, and Megan Alabuni, in addition to a young adult in global mission who's working in Jerusalem and the West Bank. In Tanzania, our missionaries are Dr. Stephen and Jody Swanson, Dr. Stephen and Bethany Freiberg, Dowdy and Kellen Msima, and Linda Jacobson. Their accompaniment of our companions empowers us to learn from our neighbors and to respond quickly and effectively when new needs emerge. The ELC missionaries are a critical link between our congregations and our church in the U.S. and the Caribbean, and our partners, especially through our ministries, ELC, World Hunger, and Lutheran Disaster Response. Just to give a quick example of this before I get to the next slide, just to give a quick example of this, when the war in Ukraine erupted, and refugees and migrants became either internally displaced or started fleeing into countries in Eastern Europe, it was our missionaries and our relationships, our area directors working in global mission, who were able to help us as a church respond through our companion churches much more quickly than we ever could if we were isolated from the other Lutheran churches around the globe. So this work is incredibly important to us and to our neighbors. Because of a year of record-breaking generosity by ELCA members and supporters in 2020, ELCA World Hunger was able to increase its program expenditures by $2 million in 2021, distributing more than $21.3 million in the United States and around the world. The program's growth has allowed the church to respond in vital and life-saving and life-changing ways in some of the most challenging contexts during a time of, as you know, extreme uncertainty and hardship. And our synod has been an important part of this work. In 2021, our synod gave $163,118 to support the work of ELCA World Hunger. This is $163,118 that provides food, clean water, shelter, education, training, tools, public policy advocacy, and more, all in testament to our faith that a world without hunger ought not to be and doesn't have to be. Thank you. Even as pandemics, war, and natural disasters have threatened our ability to be confident and trust in some of the goodness that we have been promised, when it has made us uncertain of the future, this church has stepped up, your synod has stepped up, your congregations have stepped up. And on behalf of our team at ELCA World Hunger and the many ministries that you support, thank you. In 2021, just some of the ways that these gifts to ELCA World Hunger function in the world, these enabled us to support 286 grants internationally for work in 66 countries with a total international expenditure of over $14.5 million. In addition to this, 167 ELCA World Hunger domestic hunger grants, 4 Big Dream grants, and 36 Daily Bread matching grants were awarded across 63 of the 65 synods, with a total award amount of over $1.25 million. Here in Southeast Michigan, Gracious Savior Lutheran Church and Metropolitan Organizing Strategy Enabling Strength, or MOSES, received support through ELCA World Hunger for their continued efforts. In addition to the grants through which we support these important ministries, ELCA World Hunger continues to engage Lutherans of every age with our educational resources, which are also enabled by your gifts to ELCA World Hunger. This year, we released our latest Vacation Bible School program, Tree of Healing, which is available free to congregations. And just as a point of coincidence, in case you doubted our small Lutheran world, your Churchwide Council representative, Pastor Kirsten Sullivan, has been our principal writer for these for about the last 6 years. So hats off to her and her work. You'll hear from her later today. In addition to this, the VBS program, we've also been able to start providing webinar series on a regular basis called Hunger at the Crossroads, which introduce participants to the ways that other issues of justice intersect with hunger. And this summer, of course, we'll be releasing new resources and opportunities for ELCA World Hunger's initiative, the Global Farm Challenge, which is supported by $625,000 and matching gifts to encourage giving to support the agricultural work of ELCA World Hunger in a youth-focused whole church initiative to accompany our neighbors who are facing threats of hunger and poverty around the world and here in the US. And I'll share more about that later today. In 2021, Lutheran Disaster Response responded to disasters in 47 countries and 17 US states and territories, made possible by $14.9 million in gifts by ELCA members and supporters. Several of the largest responses in the last year included major disasters in the United States, tornadoes, wildfires, severe storms, as well as international response for the Haiti earthquake in 2021, and ongoing support related to the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the Eastern Europe crisis response continues to be an ongoing effort in light of war in Ukraine. During just the first month of fundraising for this effort in the ELCA, members and supporters gave more than $2 million to this response. All of this work is made possible because of the generosity of individuals, congregations, and synods. In 2021, our synod generously gave $175,679 to support the work of Lutheran Disaster Response. And for that, again, on behalf of my colleagues in Lutheran Disaster Response and the communities that they are enabled to accompany because of those gifts, thank you. Yeah, definitely. One key strategy that I do want to mention, supported in part by Lutheran Disaster Response, is the ELCA's Amparo initiative, which focuses on the accompaniment of migrants, especially originating in Central America. My apologies for the type there. Elaine did her best to fix it, but I added so much to what was already there that it became like reading a little tiny book on the slides, so my apologies. Amparo provides legal representation, supports ministries that help people who are returning to their home countries, sometimes not by choice, and invites congregations to be places of refuge and welcome for our immigrant neighbors. This past year, Amparo assisted more than 6,400 individuals with their immediate needs and provided case management for more than 4,000 people from more than 700 families. And I'm happy to report that we just heard from their team at our office, and they are planning on expanding this program greatly. In 2022, they estimate that new growth will allow Amparo to accompany an additional 4,000 people, bringing the total number of people impacted to nearly 15,000. This work is possible because we are church together. And I want to take a few moments just to thank a few folks who participate in various ways from your synod. First, a thank you to Bishop Donald Chris for inviting me to be part of your Synod Assembly, and to Robin McCants for helping make this possible, arranging my time and answering lots of questions from a first-time Churchwide representative. Promise I will have fewer next time, if it goes well. Thank you also to your Director for Evangelical Mission, Sean Eubank, and to George C. Watson, who in addition to running back and forth today and monitoring the poll, is on the Committee of Hearing Officers. A special thank you also to our separately incorporated ministries of the ELCA These organizations work alongside all of us in providing resources that we can use to share the good news, including Tim Blevins from 1517 Media, Sonia Marquardt from the ELCA Foundation, the Reverend Kent Peterson from Mission Investment Fund, the Reverend Kathy Schibler from Portico, and Linda Bushkovsky from the Women of the ELCA. Before ending my time with you, I do want to share just some new resources that are available for you. The first is All Creation Sings, which is a new set of worship resources developed to support mission in changing times. Included in this book are over 200 diverse hymns to enliven worship, an adaptable service of word and prayer, a Spanish-English setting of Holy Communion, and a setting especially appropriate for evening. You can learn more at augsburgfortress.org/allcreationsings. As a reminder as well, the 2022 Churchwide Assembly with the theme Embody the Word will be held in Columbus, Ohio this summer. So if you didn't get enough of assemblies, come join us. It's 4 days. Learn more at elca.org/CWA. And for rostered leaders, the rostered ministers gathering will be back on in 2023, being held in Phoenix, July 17th to the 20th. And again, you can find out more information at elca.org/RMG, because as church, we love our acronyms. As some of you may have already seen, the youth gathering recently announced that the 2024 gathering, the Multicultural Youth Leadership Event, and the table will be back 2024 in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm sure we're all looking forward to having those events return. To get more information on those, you can visit elca.org/youth gathering. They actually spell theirs out. That's certainly something to look forward to, especially after the last few years of not being able to have these events. And it really is just a reminder, all three events that are important and critical in the life of the church. Lastly, I'd like to end my time just once more by expressing my gratitude for the part that each of you plays in the work that God does through this church. The last few years have been challenging in new and unexpected ways, but we've also, as I mentioned, seen this church step up in new and unexpected ways. We've perceived the Spirit of God moving in new and unexpected ways, and we look forward in hope in new and unexpected ways for the ways that God will continue to work through the Southeast Michigan Synod, through each of you, through our congregations and the many ministries that we participate in together this year and into the future. Thank you.
Ryan, thank you so much. So glad that you are here. And remember, Ryan is a member of our synod, actually, out of Zion, Chelsea. So very excited. We've now got a short video from Bishop Eaton. So carry on.
Martin Luther once said, "I felt that I had been born anew and that the gates of heaven had been opened. The whole of Scripture gained a new meaning. And from that point on, the phrase, the justice of God, no longer filled me with hatred, but rather became unspeakably sweet by virtue of a great love." Luther had been studying the Bible, St. Paul's letter to the Romans to be exact, when he finally came to understand that it was not up to human beings to make themselves worthy in the eyes of a righteous God. Luther tried. He quit his study of law. He entered a monastery and was so rigorously observant that his health suffered. The word of God only seemed to bring condemnation. It tormented him. But in an instant, that all changed. From hatred to love, from despair to joy, from death to life. Here was the gospel, the good news. We receive forgiveness of sin and become righteous before God out of grace for Christ's sake through faith. Luther knew he had to get the word out, literally. He laid hold of technology, the printing press, and modernized communication, translating the Bible into the vernacular. Ordinary people could now read or at least hear God's promise of love, freedom, and grace. Scripture was no longer the property of the educated elite. God's saving message could speak to all people. In a way, Luther's translation of the Bible, completed 500 years ago this year, combined with the technology of his day, made it possible to tell the old story in a new way. The gospel has not changed. The world has. The ELCA is rooted in tradition, the saving love of God given as a gift, grace. But we must become radically relevant. People today might not use the vocabulary of the church, sin or redemption or grace, but people are still looking for meaning and belonging and love. We need to take a page out of Luther's playbook and translate the gospel into the cultural vernacular. We're moving toward future church, and we have a goal to engage 1 million new, young, diverse people by the end of this decade, not to fill pews and offering plates, but to welcome them into the way of Jesus, where they and we find community, justice, and love. If we have experienced the infinite and intimate love of Jesus, why wouldn't we want to share that with everyone? We pray that the Holy Spirit would activate each of us for this life-giving work. We can tell the old story in a new way.
Thank you again, Ryan, and thanks to Bishop Eaton, who I'm sure her heart is strangely warmed, even as we're saying that, so that's good. So, okay, we've done really well. I want to move quickly through some announcements and let you know what's going on now, okay? So, we're making good progress through the agenda, so be of good heart, all right? That was all good. We're doing well. I hope that you who are participating via Zoom have not had major issues and able to hear and see what's been happening on the assembly floor. If you're experiencing any challenges, either here in the room, we've got the very talented and adept pages there, orange name tags. You've got your Zoom resource people also there. Chat them up and let them know. I have a couple of announcements. First, on behalf of Healthy Congregations, thanks to our partnership with Healthy Congregations, we're going to have a raffle for a complimentary one-year membership in the Healthy Congregations Network with a free copy of the Book of the Year. That's his Peter Stanke's revision of his classic, How Your 21st Century Church Family Works, which was just published posthumously this last fall. If you want to be, and that's just going to be for us in the room, so yay. So if you want to do that, you just enter, go to the Welcome Center, write your name on an entry card and put it in the basket from now until the afternoon session begins. And we'll have a drawing this afternoon. Pastor Dana Runnestad will be staffing that table, so say hi to Dana when you do that, and she'll be there during breaks and lunch. Know also, and we're going to get ready for a 20-minute break here, and we're going to resume with Plenary 2 at 11. And we're actually on track to do that, dear one, so well done. Refreshments are available out here. There are smaller assortments and amounts up here. There is a much larger assortment out downstairs in B1. Is that Pastor Debner? B2, and we'll have folks that will aim you that way. So if your stairs are not a problem and you're agile and want to, you know, get some stretching a leg, go downstairs and do that. If you'd rather just sort of stay close, do up here, but know that there's refreshments in both places. And are we outside as well at this point for snacks? No. Okay. So it's indoors for snacks here or downstairs in B2. Okay. Know also that everything provided by Fed Up, and they're doing both our snacks and our lunch, is everything provided is in terms of utensils, your plate, your napkin, your forks, coffee cups, and yes, even your coffee lids. They are all compostable. Yay, well done. So don't make, please don't make our siblings at Zion dig through the trash to find out which is compostable and not. Use the compost bins that are located in the Welcome Center outside the sanctuary and downstairs. And they're blue, are they what? They're green. They're green. So throw your waste in those green bins, not just in the trash, okay? Chef Sherry has created some beautiful fruit art downstairs. So, again, we have that for here. So get up and get a snack, and there, we can find there are folks that will direct you, okay? If you're on Zoom, I invite you to stand up, get out of your chair, and then go to the refrigerator and see what looks good, okay? And find a healthy snack, all right? So we're gonna hit it again here hard at 11 o'clock. Go now. I'm adjourning this session.